What if Kylian Mbappé wins another World Cup?
He's the guy that the Cristiano and Messi are handing over.
Yeah,
they're handing the crown over.
Well, that would put him in the conversation with the greatest footballers of all time. The man was so close to it in 2022. Hat-trick in the final.
Mbappé, Thuram, Mbappé! Oh wow! He is an awesome force of nature!
I could not take my eyes off this. I could not.
Brutal and brilliant! It's 2-each in the World Cup final!
He went beast mode, almost doing the impossible task of helping his country win back-to-back World Cups, something that has only been done twice before. In the history of football, there are players who just grow into greatness, and then there are players who seem to arrive on the scene fully formed, as if they were built in a laboratory specifically to destroy defenses. Mbappe is in that second category. People throw around the term generational all the time, but Kylian Mbappe is a generational player.
But we're talking about a guy that at any minute can unlock any situation and any defense.
Because Mbappe does things that like other players cannot do.
Somebody who seems semi-human at times because he is so talented.
You know, this is what you want to see. This is why you put your TV on.
He is an all-round superstar.
Best player in the world, maybe the future best player in the world.
I mean, the sky is the limit for him.
From the moment this guy stepped onto a World Cup pitch, he just dominated the competition.
What really impresses me most is how he seems to be just part of that French team that's kind of a family environment. It seems like, you know, he feels just so calm, he feels so comfortable in that side, so that it seems like he's played for them since 10 years.
Teenage kicks! The ultimate teenage kick! The boy with the world at his feet! Kylian Mbappé!
While some are still struggling to get a knockout goal at the age of 41, Mbappe has been dominating the world stage for years. We are actually standing at a fascinating point in history right now. The next World Cup is right around the corner, and Mbappe is no longer the teenage prodigy he was in Russia, nor is he the heartbroken hero of Qatar. He is now the captain of France, the superstar of Real Madrid, a Ballon d'Or contender, and a man chasing a legacy that could eclipse even the greatest names in the sport.
Bukayo Saka or Ousmane Dembele?
Ousmane Dembele.
Phil Foden or Kylian Mbappe?
So let's look at exactly what Mbappe has done at the World Cup, because World Cup year Mbappe is different gravy.
Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull."
Heading into the 2018 World Cup in Russia, France was a team with a lot of talent, but a bit of an identity crisis.
Nothing, and in a way that suddenly I was so disappointed of seeing my national team being in its last, all the players being in the last 20 yards, trying to save the result, like, I don't know, Panama, or I don't know, another small team. And that's a team who think they can win the World Cup, maybe.
They had lost the Euro 2016 final on home soil to Portugal, a defeat that left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. The manager, Didier Deschamps, was known for being pragmatic. That's a fancy way of saying that the guy played snooze-fest football in order to win games. He valued defensive solidity over attacking flair. Well, enter Kylian Mbappe. At the time, he was 19 years old. Yes, at the World Cup, he was 19. I don't know why people keep bringing it up as if he was 18. He had just finished a wild season where he moved from Monaco to Paris Saint-Germain. The pressure on him was immense, but he carried himself with confidence. The tournament did not start with fireworks for Mbappe. In fact, France's opening game against Australia was a bit of a snooze fest. The team looked disjointed. Mbappe started on the right wing, but his chemistry with the likes of Antoine Griezmann and Ousmane Dembele wasn't clicking yet. France won 2-1, but it wasn't convincing. But then came the game against Peru. This was the moment that Mbappe put his name in the history books for the first time.
And Mbappe touches it in. Kylian Mbappe has his first World Cup goal.
The match was pretty tense. Peru were fighting for their lives, but in the 34th minute, Olivier Giroud's shot was deflected, looping over the keeper. Mbappe was the first to react. He tapped the ball into an empty net from close range. It was not a spectacular goal. It was a poacher's goal. But at the World Cup, every goal matters, no matter how pretty or ugly. With that tap-in, at 19 years and 183 days old, Mbappe became the youngest goal scorer in the history of the French national team at a World Cup. What really stood out about his performances in the group stage wasn't just the goal, it was his tactical discipline. Deschamps had set up the team in a way that required the wingers to do a lot of defensive work. In the final group game against Denmark, which was a dreadful 0-0 draw, Mbappe came off the bench, but he followed the tactical blueprint. It was obvious what the French national team was going to do. They were going to sit deep, absorb pressure, and then unleash Mbappe on the counter. So the fact that he was able to follow the game plan at such a young age and still perform on the offensive end, it showed how good he was. Now, if you want to see the exact moment that Mbappe really began to be spoken about by the rest of the world, you have to look no further than the game against Argentina.
It's one thing to do it for Monaco first, and it's one thing to do it for PSG with more pressure and more expectation. It's another thing to do it on the biggest stage of all against top players in the world in a game like that in the knockout stage of the World Cup, and it's just incredible, and there's no limit for him.
It was the old King Lionel Messi versus the new kid Mbappe. About 11 minutes in, Donatello did something insane. He picked up the ball in his own half and just sprinted. He hit a top speed of 37 kilometers per hour. It looked like he was playing with sliders on in FIFA while the rest of the guys were stuck in slow motion.
Speed does make people scared. He installed fear into defenders.
He ran past the entire Argentina team until they had to finally trip him in the penalty box just to slow him down. Later in the game, he scored 2 goals. One was a tricky shot with his left foot, and the other was a powerful strike into the corner. He became the first teenager since the legend Pelé to score twice in a World Cup knockout game.
What gets me is not his skill level or his pace, it's his confidence. I've never seen such a confident teenager. That's one of the biggest assets you can have, because when a player loses confidence, no matter how talented, it's tough to get back, but he is super confident.
In fact, that's what he looked like the whole tournament. The new and French Pelé. In the next games against Uruguay and Belgium, teams tried to block his path so he couldn't run. But Mbappe showed that he was more than just a speed merchant. He was smart on the ball, he worked with his teammates, he had the physicality of a teenager, but he played with the brain of a 30-year-old veteran. In the final against Croatia, Mbappe put the finishing touches on his dream summer. In the second half, he took a touch outside the box and smashed a shot into the bottom corner. With that goal, he joined Pelé again as the only other teenager ever to score in a World Cup final. He finished the tournament with 4 goals, a World Cup trophy, and the Best Young Player award. He was the magic spark that turned a good French team into the best team in the world. Now, if 2018 was about Mbappe joining a great team, 2022 was about him carrying that team on his back.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
France arrived in Qatar with a lot of problems. They had a lot of injuries, and one of the best strikers in the world in Karim Benzema got hurt right before the tournament started. Everyone kind of looked at Mbappe and said, okay buddy, it's all up to you now. So he took charge. He started the tournament by destroying Australia and then scored both goals to beat a very tough Denmark team. By the time they reached the round of 16 against Poland, Mbappe was playing like a man possessed. He set up 1 goal and then scored 2. At that point in the tournament, he already had 5 goals in just 4 games.
And we were asking if Kylian Mbappé was the best player in the tournament right now, and even before this game, obviously, Craig, you'd said yes. With what we're seeing, is he the best player in the world right now?
Yes.
In the next 2 rounds against England and Morocco, Mbappe didn't actually score, but he was still one of the most important players on the pitch. It was basically Griezmann followed by Mbappe. England were so scared of his speed that they put 2 or 3 players on him at all times, which in some ways you can argue gave his teammates the space they needed to win the game, like Chouameni's long shot. Against Morocco, he went on a wild run past 3 defenders to help set up the winning goal. So even though he wasn't scoring, he was still one of the biggest reasons why France were winning matches. Then came the final against Argentina.
I could not take my eyes off this. I could not.
Now, for the first 80 minutes, it was a disaster. People don't talk about it because of how good his performance ended up being, but he was literally a non-factor for the beginning of the game. France were losing 2-0, and Mbappe didn't even have a shot on goal. It looked like the game was over. And then in just 97 seconds, Mbappe the Turtle changed everything.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Minute 80, he smashed in a penalty to make it 2-1. Minute 81, he hit the unbelievable falling volley into the bottom corner. The stadium went crazy. I mean, the guy dragged France back from the dead in less than 2 minutes.
Mbappe, what he did, France is down 2-0 in the game.
Yes.
Then he ties it, so all credit to Mbappe and France.
The game went into extra time, and when Argentina scored again to lead 3-2, Mbappe stepped up one more time. He scored another penalty to tie it at 3-3, completing a hat-trick, something that had only happened once before in a World Cup final. And I know it's easy to mock the fact that 2 of his 3 goals were pens, but the pressure of scoring from the spot in a World Cup final with billions watching is insane. So I'm never gonna downplay somebody scoring that.
Mbappe shoots 3 penalties. I never seen that in my life. 3 on the same side. I mean, you have to have the guts to do it. Remember, Jeff Hurst in 1966 was the last guy who scored an hat-trick.
Yes.
And Mbappe did it, and on top of it, scored a penalty on the penalty shootout.
The match ended up going to pens. Mbappe took the first one and scored. That was his 3rd penalty of the night against Emi Martinez. Mbappe had basically done everything he possibly could, but unfortunately his teammates missed their shots and France lost. Mbappe ended up winning the Golden Boot for being the top goal scorer with 8 goals, but as you can see from his face, he didn't really care about that. He had just played what many call the greatest individual game in football history, but it wasn't enough to bring the trophy home.
Qu'est-ce qui te fait peur?
De pas gagner, de décevoir, parce que tu es exigeant avec toi-même.
Now the thing is, Mbappe isn't just good at the World Cup, he's also fantastic in the months leading up to the tournament. Whenever a World Cup is around the corner, he just happens to reach a whole other level. Mbappe has this pattern of locking in and putting up massive numbers for his club right before the big tournament starts. Take the 2017-2018 season. Mbappe had just moved to Paris Saint-Germain. At the time, he was the little brother of the team, playing next to a superstar like Neymar. But he ended up finishing the season with 21 goals total. He also got 8 assists in the league alone. He was playing for the team, and funny enough, being unselfish. I say it's funny because these days, the biggest criticism around him is the opposite. They call him the dictator, because he gets players and managers booted out of the team. But that's a convo for another time. One of the biggest reasons why he fits so well into the French national team that summer was because he knew how to help his teammates shine. Now let's go to the 2022-2023 season. By the time that World Cup happened in 2022 in Qatar, Mbappe was not the little brother anymore. He was the boss, big bro. He was scoring almost every single game. He ended up scoring 40 plus goals that year. He was just faster, stronger, and way more clinical than any other version of him before. In fact, I can make an argument that even nowadays with his goal scoring stats being great, he still hasn't looked anywhere near as sharp as he did in those seasons.
When Mbappe touches the ball and gets going, you get to the edge of your seat. Sure. You're just like, wait a minute, this is different.
Now keep in mind, at that point, he was also dealing with all the drama about him moving to Real Madrid, but he stayed focused and arrived at the World Cup in the best shape of his life. Well, that pattern is happening again in the 2025-2026 season. Leading into the World Cup in North America, Mbappe is now a Real Madrid player, and his stats have been scary. He's scoring at a rate that Madrid haven't seen since prime Cristiano Ronaldo. Halfway through the season, he already had 32 goals, including a game where he scored 4 goals all by himself in the Champions League. He's not just a winger anymore, he's playing centrally as a striker, and he's become a pure goal machine. He's taken all the experience from his years in France and turned it into pure domination in Spain. If he keeps this up for the World Cup in the summer, the other countries are in big trouble.
I think sometimes in the life I'm too competitive, you know, it's good to be competitive.
There are specific things that make Mbappe a nightmare for any defender in the world. Number one, of course, is that explosive burst and pace.
Faster.
Everybody knows he's fast, but it's his acceleration that really hurts teams. He can go from standing still to top speed in just a few steps. It's like he has a turbo button. If a defender gets too close, he just flies past them. If they stay back to give themselves space, he just runs directly at them. There's no real winning when you're trying to defend this guy. The second factor is that he's now a goal-scoring machine. Back in 2018, Mbappe was mostly a winger who scored here and there. Now he's a complete striker. He can score from range, he can score in the box. He doesn't need the perfect chance anymore. He's learned how to turn a half chance into a goal out of nowhere. His technique has improved. Now he can score when he's falling over like he did at the 2022 World Cup final. The third factor factor is that he's so clutch. The guy has ice in his veins. Taking a penalty in a World Cup final is terrifying. Taking a second one in the 118th minute when you're losing, that's another level of pressure. But Mbappe seems to actually love this pressure. When the rest of the team looks tired or scared, he's the one demanding the ball and telling everyone to keep fighting. Now this leads to a big question. What actually happens if Mbappe wins the World Cup in 2026 with France? He's in his prime right now. He's already played in 2 World Cups, won one, and almost won a second. He already has 12 World Cup goals, which means he only needs 5 more to break the all-time record held by Miroslav Klose. Looking at how he's playing for Real Madrid and the fact that he's going to play at least 2 more World Cups, he can easily break that record. So what does that mean for his legacy? I mean, is he already better than Zidane? In France, Zidane is like a god because of what he achieved with the national team and how beautiful he made the game look. Now, some might argue that you can't even compare these two because they're such different players. But if Mbappe wins a second World Cup, his stats and accolades will be even higher than Zidane's. I mean, Mbappe's already scored more goals in a World Cup final than Zidane ever did. Then what about the GOAT conversation? For years, the greatest of all time debate was all about Messi and Ronaldo. Before that, it was Diego Maradona and Pele. But if Mbappe wins the World Cup in 2026, he'll have 2 World Cup trophies, which is more than Messi, and he already had more than Ronaldo. He'll likely be the all-time top goal scorer in World Cup history, and he'll have done it as the main leader of his team for nearly a decade. Now maybe some of you are laughing, saying what a stupid argument. No way Mbappe can be the GOAT. But you guys underestimate the power of recency bias. Had France won the World Cup in 2022 after the performance he put on, people would have legit pushed Donatello to be in the GOAT conversation. So if he does it again in 2026, trust me, people will return to this convo. If he does this, one guy who will feel very vindicated will be Cristiano Ronaldo, because he's been right about Mbappe ever since he joined Real Madrid. To see what Ronaldo said about Mbappe, you have to watch this video right here.